I was flirting with you from afar. I see you came to receive my flirt. Receive your who now?
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, 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 Halloween.
Welcome back, ladies and germs of non-specific identities. I bet you're wondering, Lilith, weren't you wearing that exact same outfit in your last video? Well, yes, children, I was. Because sometimes when you have the house to yourself, you have to film multiple videos at a time, and you're too lazy to change your shirt. I hate to mix up movie magic for you, but that's just kind of how it goes. Today we are here for what is called a mini storytime video. I got this idea from Gabby Hanna, who is amazing, just pointing it out, where she had small stories that she could put into one video because they weren't big enough and grand enough for one entire video on their own. So I figured while I had the house to myself, I would go ahead and I would make a mini story time video, that way that I could pre-film a lot of stuff that would hopefully be slightly interesting and a little bit funny. So today, this mini story time video is called the 5 weirdest times that I was hit on at work. All of these happened while I was working at the same establishment that happened to be a truck stop. When you work at a truck stop, you get a lot of men who haven't seen women in several days coming into your establishment, and they just really want to hit on you. Some of them are really nice and cool about it, and other ones are a little bit creepy, downright dangerous. So without further ado, let's get into the story. The first one that I'm going to tell you about is neither disturbing nor dangerous. It was more just a very weird thing that happened. A guy came up to my register to pay for the stuff that he wanted, and like a normal transaction, I was asking him if he had a rewards card for our establishment, and I was asking him if he wanted his receipt and a bag and all that. Well, he had paid with cash, and when I went to give him back his change, he didn't want his change. He had paid me a $20 bill, and his change was like $8 and some cents. I had tried to explain to him that he had $8 in change. I was holding up a 5 and 3 ones. But he was like, no, you're good. And then he walked off. And then it occurred to me that he had been flirting with me the entire time and that I was just so oblivious I hadn't noticed. And then he randomly tipped me $8 for absolutely no reason. I didn't mind this exchange so much because he was very sweet about it, but I was very concerned that he was slightly confused and that maybe he thought I stole $8 from him. Incident number 2 is a little bit higher on the weird scale. Now, in the truck stop that I worked in, the main registers were here, and then over here there was a coffee area where we had about 8 coffee machines, we had a hot tea machine, and we had all the fixins that way that you could put cream and sugar and all that different stuff in your coffee. I had just finished helping out a customer and sent him out the door after I finished with all of his stuff when all of a sudden I hear psst, psst. At first I thought that it was one of my coworkers who were around me who were calling to me, so I looked all around and I didn't see any of my coworkers even looking at me. And then I kept hearing the psst sound, and I looked up towards the coffee area to see a man who was, I'm not even kidding, like 8 feet tall, standing in the coffee area, waving me over and psting at me. So I figure we must have been out of something. A lot of truckers would come up and say that the kind of coffee they wanted was empty, or that we were out of cups, or lids of a certain size, or a certain kind of sweetener, whatever. So I was going over there to help him, and he looked at me and he just kind of like that. And I was like, what'd you need, hun? And he said, you came all the way over here just because I went psst. I was like, yeah, I thought that you needed something. You know, that you were out of something over here that you needed, that you wanted me to get for you. And he was like, nah, baby, I don't need anything. I was just trying to flirt with you. I see you came to flirt back. And I was like, huh? And he said, yeah, I was flirting with you from afar. I see you came to receive my flirt. Receive your who now? Receive your flirt. You went psst at a woman and you thought that qualified as obviously flirting? Man, I thought you needed coffee. But then he started going on about, you made my day. I can't believe you came to receive my flirt. And I was like, no. I did not come to receive anything from you. I'm good. Thank you. I gotta go. But he then, kept trying to move around me so he could trap me in where I was standing. And he was like, you made my day coming to receive my flirt. Just kept saying it like I was trying to flirt back with him and had made an effort to flirt with him or something. And then I swear on my mama, this man looked at me and said, can I hug you? And then before I really got any sort of say in the matter, he was hugging me. And I'm just like, eh. I was freaked out. He's a man twice my size that I don't know, who's just hugging me in my place of work. It's hot in here. It's so hot. And I couldn't understand where in his brain it made sense that apparently to him, not only was I coming to receive the flirt and flirting back, but that apparently it was okay to hug a stranger. I eventually got real weirded out and I left the situation and I hid in the back until he left because that was creepy. I can drink Kool-Aid if I want to drink Kool-Aid. The third guy on this list is one that's about the same level of creep, if not slightly higher than the receive my flirt guy. This man's mission in life was to let me know he had a special love of white women. For the reference of the story, because he brings up about 800 times that he loves white women, this man was born and raised in Africa. So this is not me being racist when I'm pointing out that he said he liked white women, because he continued to tell me, I don't like black girls. I don't like black girls, but black girls like me. And you don't really know how to respond to that as a person who's just trying to get him coffee. And I had gone over there to clean the counters because customers didn't really care about the place. So they would leave just crap all over the counter, or they would spill their coffee and not clean it up. So I went over there and this guy informed me that the kind of coffee that he wanted was empty. So as a decent human being who was being paid to work there, I said, sure, I will refill this coffee machine for you, man. I'm real sorry about that. I will get this up and made for you in like 5 minutes. I'm real sorry about that. And because you had to wait on it, your coffee's gonna be free. Because that's what we did. When a customer was immediately deprived of something, or when something they wanted was out because the people who worked there hadn't filled it back up, they got the thing for free. Because that's how you keep customers happy. There's a cat by my mailbox. I'm not gonna pay attention to this video until I can't see that cat anymore. I love him. Can I keep him? He's so pretty. I wanted to love him. Anyway, he took me offering him a free coffee and apologizing for the inconvenience as, you guessed it, me flirting with him. Because God forbid a beautiful woman assume I'm flirting with her. But no! Just weird men. So then he starts referring to the fact that I'm pretty, and that he likes that my hair is purple, and that he thinks I have nice eyes, and just all this other weird stuff that was just not appropriate or called for. And I thanked him and was trying to make the coffee and, just kind of make the situation over with because I was uncomfortable. At which point he asks the question that every single lesbian has ever gotten at a family gathering. Do you have a boyfriend? What's your boyfriend's name? What's your boyfriend like? You have a boyfriend, don't you? A pretty girl like you should have a boyfriend.
No, I don't have a boyfriend.
So naturally, because I don't, I told him no. And then he didn't understand why I didn't have a boyfriend. And he kept saying, well, why don't you have a boyfriend? Why don't you have a boyfriend? You're a pretty girl, you should have a boyfriend. And this coffee was taking 1,000 years to make, but I wasn't allowed to just walk off while it was making. So I explained to him I didn't want a boyfriend. And then he started talking about, well, why don't you want a boyfriend? A pretty girl deserves attention. A pretty girl deserves somebody to pay attention to her. A pretty girl deserves a boyfriend. I want attention, I just want it from Ruth Connell. If Ruth Connell sees this, I will love you forever. The prettiest girl in the world. I will love you forever. I've always wanted to marry a redhead. And Rowena is my favorite character from Supernatural. So somebody hit up Ruth Connell, let her know that I will buy her dinner at her favorite restaurant, I will open her doors for her, and I will call her beautiful every 20 minutes. Thank you. You see the scratch marks on my shoulder? My skin is sensitive and my shoulder itches, so if you ever see random scratch marks on me, it's not a ghost, because I know somebody's gonna suggest it's a ghost. It's just me. So I'm trying to throw off the trail without having to tell him that I'm gay, because I just don't feel like I should have to explain why I don't want to be in a relationship. I know lesbians who don't want a girlfriend just because they don't feel like being in a relationship right now. They want to focus on themselves, their friends, their careers, their hobbies. They just don't feel like being in a relationship right now. And I don't feel like I should have to explain why I don't want a relationship, because continuing to say that I should have a boyfriend because I'm a pretty girl, that invalidates the fact that I can just be a woman without a relationship, that my life can have purpose without a guy in it, or that even if he knew I was gay, that my life would be invalid without a girlfriend in it. You do not have to be in a relationship for your life to matter. And this is the exact same argument that I give to people when they say that my life will not have fulfillment if I never have children. Your life does not just matter based on if you are a wife or a mother or a husband or a father. If you spend your entire life unmarried and childless, but you are productive and happy and healthy, then you are living your life to the fullest. Your life does not revolve around if you have a partner or if you have children. It only matters if you are happy and healthy with the way that you are living your life. That's it. And I got tired of him going on for about 10 minutes listing reasons basically why he thought I should have a boyfriend. And I just kind of got tired of it, and I told him I don't want a boyfriend because I don't like boys. And then it was like it clicked in his head, but not really, because then he went on for 10 minutes about if I had a girlfriend. And why don't I have a girlfriend? Do I want a girlfriend? Why wouldn't I want a girlfriend? A pretty girl should have a girlfriend. If I do or do not get into a relationship, that is the concern of me and anybody I might date. There are a lot of reasons that have nothing to do with other people why I'm not in a relationship now, why I wasn't in a relationship then. It is only my business if I have a partner. Nobody else's. And if I don't have a partner, it's my business why I don't. So I was trying to tell him that in polite a manner as I could, and I was telling him, just hasn't worked out so far. I just don't have a girlfriend. You know, all these reasons that it's perfectly normal, like I haven't met the right person. I don't know anybody that I'm interested in. I'm working all the time. I'm too exhausted when I'm not at work to keep up with another person. I'm busy with my hobbies when I'm not at work. I'd like to focus on bettering myself. I'm only 22. There's plenty of time for me to be in a relationship. But he didn't seem to accept a lot of these and just kept talking about how I should have a girlfriend. And then he became my least favorite kind of man on the planet. The kind of man who then kept saying to me,
how do you know that you're gay if you don't have a boyfriend? And if you've never had a boyfriend?
And I said, I've had boyfriends. That's how I know I'm gay, because I didn't enjoy the experience of having a male partner. And he couldn't seem to wrap his brain around the fact that I didn't enjoy having a boyfriend. And I tried to explain to him, I'm not physically attracted to men. I am not sexually attracted to men. I am not emotionally attracted to men. I am not mentally attracted to men. I can be friends with every guy on the planet. My dream best friend in this world is either Shane Dawson or Garrett Watts. I can connect to a man mentally and emotionally, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to fall in love with him or that I'm attracted to him. For me, sexuality and orientation is on a spectrum. Right now, I can never see myself falling in love with or sleeping with a man. But if for some reason one day I met my soulmate and that happened to be a man, it wouldn't bother me very much, because the thing that would be more important to me is being with somebody who made me happy. So right now, I identify as a lesbian because I'm not attracted to or in love with any men. But if for some reason, a 1 out of 1,000 chance it actually happened, then I would not be bothered by that. But as of right now, I expect a human being to respect me and how I present myself to the world. He then continued to go on for a very long time about how he understood what it was like to be gay because he was outcast in the black community because he only liked white women. I don't know if that's a real thing that he was going through or if he was trying to connect me on something that wasn't real. But he was trying to express to me that a lot of his friends who were the same race as him did not understand why he wouldn't date other girls of their race and why he only liked white women. It's okay to have a preference. I know girls who will only date brunettes. My cousin will only date guys who are taller than her. My mom likes dudes with beards. You're allowed to have a preference, and if this man's preference was white women, there's nothing wrong with that. And I felt bad for him and still do if he really is being shunned by his friends and his family for having a preference for white women. But because he felt related to me on that level, he felt that that made it okay to tell me what he thought of my sexual orientation. This situation was abruptly cut off when my manager hollered for me to come help on register, and that was the only reason that I got away. Situation number 4 is drastically different from the first 3. Because I would consider it actual harassment. The other 3 could just be considered as weird or annoying or rude. This one I consider actual harassment. I worked at the deli in the truck stop that I worked at. So I was in charge of giving people hot food if that was what they ordered. And this guy came up to me on his headset. And a lot of people do that, and even though it's rude to be sitting and talking on the phone while you're ordering food from somebody, I got used to it because there were truckers who would be talking to their boss at the time that they would be coming up and paying for stuff or wanted food. And he asked me for 9 chicken wings. So I bent down to grab a styrofoam box that the wings would go into. And then all of a sudden, in front of all the store, while on the phone, I heard this man say, "Can I grab your?" I was hoping and praying that it was just my anxiety and that I had actually misheard him, because no grown man would ask to grab the butt of a random woman, right? Wrong. This was like my 2nd or 3rd week on the job. I was really new to this, and I wasn't very good at defending myself or talking to people. And so I sat up, styrofoam box in hand, and I said, "What'd you say?" And then he was grinning like he had just gotten laid or something and said, "I asked if I could grab your Huh? And of course I was offended, but of course none of the other employees heard it. And I said, "Why would you ask me that? That's really inappropriate." And he said, "Well, my girl's on the line and she told me to ask you." And I sat the box down and I said, "Really? Why would your girl ask you to ask if you could grab the ass of a random woman?" And because I was offended, I said, "No. You can tell your girlfriend no, you can't grab my." And then, like the guy in the story before him, he said, "Why, you got a boyfriend?" And I said, "No, I don't have a boyfriend. I just don't want a stranger to grab me on the." And then, as I was getting his food, 2 other guys came over to the register and they were just standing there. I assumed they were friends of this guy. And then he decided to make this whole situation my fault. And he real loud starts going like this. "Oh, she don't want me to touch her because she don't like black men. She don't like no black man. You hear that? She don't like no black men." And then I got real mad because the other 2 dudes, who happened to also be black men like this guy, were staring at me as if I was a f***ing racist, and I am not a racist. So I was not going to be accused of being a racist. So then I went, "No, honey, I just don't like men." And the other 2 dudes thought that was so funny, they had to brace themselves on the counter while laughing. It was at this point I then began to assume that the man who had originally wanted to grab my was a homophobe, because suddenly he didn't want his wings from me anymore once he found out I was gay. And he didn't actually want to respond. And I was still offended and a cranky little because a stranger had asked to grab my and then accused me of racism and now was clearly ignoring me out of homophobia. So I real loud in front of everybody went, "Oh, so now that I'm gay, you don't want food from me anymore?" He ignored the situation and walked over to the Subway that was literally right next to me, where one of my coworkers had watched the entire thing happen. To further prove that he was a homophobe, he walked up to the girl at the register and started hitting on her. She also is a lesbian. And she pointed out to him, she goes, "I'm gay too, you know." He stopped talking to her and walked to the other Subway girl. And he kept hitting on her even after she pointed out to him that she had a boyfriend. And whenever she would bend over to get something, he would start commenting about how she needed to put her butt out there more and how she had a cute little behind. She's 16. And I pointed that out to him, that she was a minor. He didn't really seem to care. So because he was creepy and being a pedophile and being a misogynistic, homophobic, while also just being plain disgusting and rude, the other girl who worked at Subway, who was the other lesbian he didn't want to talk to, made sure that the one thing he said not to put on his sandwich, she put about 100 of. So I thought that was pretty funny. Hope you choked on your jalapenos. This story is the last one of this video, so I'm almost done. I saved this one for last because I kind of wanted to tell them in order from the least disturbing to the most disturbing. Which, yes, ladies and germs, does mean that this is the worst one. Now, this man gives a bad reputation to every man ever. I know so many nice guys. Ones that are not homophobic, ones that are not misogynistic, ones that don't care about how a woman dresses or how they act. I know a lot of really good guys. This guy gives all of them a bad name just by being a guy. So this guy decided he wanted to hang around the store for no reason at like 10 o'clock at night. He had already bought what he wanted. He had no other reason to be there. He was just hanging out. And we had some people that sometimes would just hang out because we had like a little dining area that had a TV and a bunch of the truckers would sit in there at the tables and watch the game. He was just gonna stand up at the registers with all of the young women who worked there on the late second shift. I was just thinking, did I just mouth pop? Shane Dawson! And if you moved to a different register because, you know, there was a customer there, which is supposed to be your first priority, he would walk over to that register and just stand there, not talking to the other customer because they were a trucker that he knew. He would start talking to you, and by talking to you, I mean that he would start commenting on your breasts, which he did to me and another girl my age who worked there. It eventually got to the point where I had done all of my deli duties for the night, and I had swept all the floors and done all the mopping in the kitchen, and I had finished all the dishes. So basically what I was supposed to do until I got off at 11 was I was supposed to stand up at the front at the register, that way that the manager could go in the back and finish the daily money count. The only other people that were up front were the two people who were at Subway, which were two very nice people who were dating at the time, who also no longer work at this establishment. Fun fact, I also no longer work at this establishment. At the time of filming this video, it's April Fool's Day, although I know it's going to get put up when April's almost over. Which means it's also Easter, so if you celebrate Easter, happy Easter. I don't, so it doesn't really matter to me. But as of this moment, I've quit this establishment, which was the job I had when I started this channel, and I am currently unemployed. This kind of stuff is one of the reasons why I left, because I didn't feel safe, which you kind of gotta feel when you work at a truck stop. So this guy comes over to me when I'm alone at the counter and starts pulling the same crap as guy number 3 and starts asking me if I have a boyfriend. No, I don't. He's a little bit more violent and rude about it than the other guy though, because he's like, I don't understand why you don't have a boyfriend. I don't understand all you young girls who think you don't need a man. He then starts talking to me about how maybe I don't need a boyfriend because I've got him. And I said, no thank you, I'm good. At which point he said, do you want to come out to my car with me? I said no, because I don't have a death wish. And then because this guy was creepy and rude and kind of scary, he kept pressing on as to why I didn't want to go out to his car with him and why I didn't want to hook up with him. And I eventually just went, you're not my type. And then he started saying, are you calling me ugly? Are you saying that you're too good for me? And I said, no, I'm gay. Because I'm still hopeful that one day a man will hear this and just back the off, not take it as a challenge. This took it as a challenge. Because then he started saying, there's no way that you're gay. You don't look gay. Did I walk out without my rainbow suit again? God. At which point I told him, you don't have to look gay to be gay. He didn't accept that as an answer very well. At which point, for a brief second, he started talking about his car again, instead of me going out to his car. And he just wouldn't go away, even though I was clearly looking like I was working, even though I actually wasn't. I just wanted him to go away and think I was working. At which point I said something about, well, at least you have your car, because he was talking about how he couldn't find a motel room to sleep in. And I was trying to say, well, at least you could sleep in your car. At least you don't have to sleep on the street. And he said, well, what does it matter if I'm going to sleep in my car? It's not like you're going to be out there with me. And then he started to just get really angry. He's like, I cannot believe that you're gay. There is no way that you're gay. And he was like hitting the counter, and he was like, there's just no way. There is no justice. This is such a waste. And I'm like, it's not a waste for me. This is who I am. At which point, he then said, that's just wrong. That's disgusting. I don't understand why you would want to be with another woman the way you're supposed to be with a man. And I said, well, wouldn't you rather be with a woman than with a man? And he said, yeah, because I'm straight. And I said, exactly. So if I was sitting here trying to tell you that you should be with another guy, then you would be offended, wouldn't you? And he said, well, that's not the same. And I said, yes, it is the same. Because to me, I don't want to be with a man. If somebody else wants to be with a man, that's their business, and I'm happy for them, and they should do what they feel happy and comfortable doing. But I don't want to have sex with a man. I like girls. He still didn't seem to take this very well, because even after the girl who worked over at Subway came over and could see that I was having trouble, he was still there. I kind of whispered to her, I was like, hey, our shift is over in like 20 minutes. Can you not leave me here with him because I'm creeped out? And she's like, yeah, sure, I will stay right here. And he for a minute started like being weird with her until her big, huge boyfriend who was taller than him come up and stands like this. He backed the off of him. So you will back off of a girl if she has a boyfriend in the room. But if she's gay, you're gonna persist and be rude and homophobic and an ass. Sounds about right. At which point, I was really creeped out because he was staring at me still in this very I'm gonna eat your liver fashion. So I went on the walkie-talkie and I said to my manager, I'm gonna leave the register for a second. I forgot my keys in the back, which was a lie. And then the guy said, it's not like you need your keys anyway. I got my car. And I wanted to die. I go in the back, even though I actually have my keys in my pocket, and I said to my manager on my headset, what was going on? I said, I'm back here because the guy is making me really uncomfortable. Is there any way that you can do anything? Needless to say, my piece of shit manager didn't come help me at all. She stayed in the coffee area and didn't help me because she hates me. So then eventually I come back out when it's 5 minutes to the end of our shift, and me and the 2 subway workers are talking and we're trying to ignore this guy. Well, then eventually we clock out and he comes over to the register that I have clocked out at, and he's standing there waiting with his keys in his hand. And the subway couple is standing there talking to each other because they feel happy and safe and comfortable. I go and I grab my jacket and I grab my water and I make sure I have my phone out in case something happens. And then, as I'm walking to the door, I hear footsteps behind me. And I panic. And I run out the door. And I turn around to see that this mother followed me into the parking lot at 11 o'clock at night. Almost immediately after that, his attention is taken away by the fact that the 2 subway people came outside when they realized that he had followed me into the parking lot. Thankfully, I was not alone in the parking lot. My mother was picking me up from work, and I knew where her car was right away. So I ran to the car like a freaked out little person, and I started screaming to drive away. He kept yelling for me to come back and talk to him, in which case I yelled no at the top of my lungs, and we drove off. I was kind of scared to death to go out into the parking lot alone for the next week and a half, and horribly enough, because my management claimed that they couldn't do anything to protect me from this guy or any other guy who sexually harassed any of the women who worked there, he continued to come back into the store several times after that incident until I stopped working there a couple of weeks ago. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know that it was the first time I had ever done a mini story time, and I don't know how that's going to work out on my channel when I said that I wasn't going to be a story time channel to begin with. I'm sorry if at any point you heard creaking throughout this video, especially when I sway from side to side, because these floors are very old because my house is very old. I hope that this lighting is okay, and I hope that this angle is okay. I figured since I had the house to myself for once, I would try with some natural lighting and only a little bit of lighting for my lighting kit. I wanted to be able to try a video standing up and not in my stuffy bedroom. Again, I'm sorry about if any part of this was really weird, and let me know if you've had any similar experiences in the comments. Have you had weird people hit on you at work? Have you had creepy people follow you out into the parking lot? If you like this video, please like and hit subscribe and join my family. We're a bunch of freaks, geeks, and weirdos, and we would love to add you to our little clan. See you next Monday. Bye.